So we're going to talk about, well, why not? Let's talk Manchester United, shall we? Because they're not exactly firing, although they might be firing somebody soon.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
I didn't even write that one. The ad libs are so much better. So Erik Ten Hag, I know Neil Mellor he's got a campaign for Erik to stay, but Paul, two 3-0 defeats in a week. Plenty to talk about from the Manchester City game, but the Newcastle game I thought it looked like an open goal. Newcastle come with less than a B team, and yet they absolutely walloped them.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they played them off the park, and like you say, I mean, I was at the Wolves-Newcastle game at the weekend, and you wondered what squad Eddie Howe would have left to pick from, because they picked up injuries the week before, they picked up injuries there, and his squad was looking depleted, and you question whether the Carabao Cup was actually his priority. He changed the side up. He said he wanted to play a strong side. They did that, and like you say, they played a very strong Manchester United side off the park. It's unusual. Listen, there's problems there. It's not going away, because in our generation we've grown up and seen Manchester United at the very top, at the pinnacle of when I used to play there and when Neil used to play there. He used to go, and it was not damage limitations, but it was almost, would be very surprised if you got anything from Old Trafford. And it doesn't have that feeling anymore. That they're not the power, they're not the force that they used to be, which is why everybody talks about them, because they are one of the biggest football clubs in the world.
Neil, it was people digging out, obviously the managers have been since, and there've been plenty of them since Sir Alex Ferguson. But certainly the clip that got me was Ralph Rangnick. Remember, he was manager for a while, interim manager before Erik Ten Hag. And he was basically saying, his line was, it needs open heart surgery at Manchester United. It does feel like the whole club has kind of lost its heart.
Yeah, there's problems there. I know obviously there's ownership issues, which is creating a bit of uncertainty around the football club. There's no doubt about that. But there's no excuse for what's happening on the pitch in terms of the manager's had time. He's had money. I think somebody said he spent over £400 million. So let's not feel sorry for the manager and go, oh, it's somebody else's problem. The manager's got a job to do, and he's not doing it at the moment in terms of the players are not performing to the levels they can do. I look at Manchester United, and I've watched them last few games, and even before, and you think, who are the leaders? You've got Bruno Fernandes as your captain. I mean, Roy Keane, a former captain of United, was saying he's not captain material. Is he a real character and a leader in the dressing room? And I look at the reactions of when United go behind, and they've done that a few times recently. Is he the one who's inspiring his teammates to get their heads up rather than sulking and moaning and blaming each other? No. And you're looking at Anthony, who's had his own problems off the pitch. He comes on against City and he should have been sent off. His attitude, it's awful. Rashford, who's a key player for Manchester United, thinks he can go out on a night out having lost the derby. Now that tells me there's no leaders in the dressing room. I remember losing a Merseyside derby and I had a massive night planned out and I couldn't wait. All my mates were up. And I remember Jamie Carragher saying to me, what are you doing tonight? And I was like, I was thinking of going out. No chance. He said, don't even think about it. Go home, keep your head down, and don't go out. And that was a strong leader in the dressing room. Yeah, I don't think United have that at the moment, which is a problem.
And talking about players like Anthony and like Fernandes, I mean, what do you do if I don't know if you've had any experience of players like Anthony, Paul, in your squad, in the dressing room, if you haven't got those leaders around, how do you deal with a player like that?
There has to be an internal management system in a side, in any good, strong side, that there always has been. Leaders, you talk about leaders, you talk about captains in the dressing room, but it's your own personal pride and it's your own personal will to win and your own personal want to win that does that. And there's people in the dressing room. Listen, I've had players up against the wall in the dressing room, but you don't. There's no hard feelings afterwards, and you argue, you say things in the dressing room, but it stays in there. And you're not doing it because you dislike somebody. You're doing it because of your will and your want to win. You question whether that is anywhere in that Manchester United dressing room. I think the manager is to blame. I think you spent more than 400 million, like Mel says there, on his own players. You can't blame Anthony for his price tag because that's what the club were willing to pay for him. You can't blame him for that, but you would still expect more from him on the pitch and the way that he carries himself, his body languages and his performances. He's not performing like a £95 million player because, let's be honest, he's not a £95 million player, but it's not his fault that the club paid that amount of money for him. Bruno Fernandes underachieving, but the thing for me, it was always Harry Maguire, David De Gea and a couple of others. Now it's Manchester United as a collective It's there for all to see. There's no papering over cracks anymore. The cracks are really appearing. The cracks are coming through the paper. And by the way, it's not getting any easier for them. We just sat here before we started. You look at their fixtures coming up. So they've had a few home games. The next 6 of them are away. At Fulham, at Copenhagen, home to Luton, at Everton, at Galatasaray, at Newcastle. Now, if he ain't getting the sack this week, I suspect at some point in that run he might do.
Well, it doesn't get much easier after that. Chelsea and Bournemouth, fair play. But then Bayern Munich and Liverpool in the same week. I mean, we'll wait and see what happens there. But then you look around and you think, well, who could take control of this Manchester United squad? The club, obviously, there's still 25% of the club up in the air. We might not see.
That shouldn't be
Jim
affecting
Ratcliffe
the players, though. I mean, I played in a Leeds side that was in huge financial situation. Manchester United aren't in financial straits. They're not in trouble. They're not having to sell players. They're not having to cut wages. There's no issue on the playing staff. They're not having to sell players, or players are not getting paid. Issues off the field affect players when it's not good issues. I mean, yeah, there's talk about Manchester United, the state of the stadium, the takeover, the Glazers, but that's been there for a long time. That's nothing new. That was there last season when they had one of the best seasons they've had for a long time. So that's an excuse. It's not an excuse that washes, because there is the amount of money in that squad that's been spent, the quality of players in that squad that are there at the manager's disposal. When we were at Leeds, going back years, players weren't getting paid. You were wondering how you were going to pay your mortgage. You were wondering how you were going to pay your bills, because we were young lads not getting paid. There was players that were leaving week after week, and there was a genuine excuse. There's not that at Manchester United. Yes, there's unrest. Yes, there's talk of the stadium. Yes, there's the ownership unrest. There's everything that surrounds Manchester United. But footballers like excuses. We all did.
But Neil, if there's no one making a decision to hire, fire, or even work out who's coming in, or what the structure of the whole company looks like, which is, it's a massive company, Manchester United. The whole thing's in just stasis.
Yeah, I mean, we see United as one of the biggest football clubs in world football. They're struggling at the moment. There's no doubt about it. And as Paul mentioned there's been struggles for other clubs because of financial reasons. That's not a reason for United. What you would say is, I think there's a bit of a mindset issue, because all we keep hearing is excuses. What is it? The shirt, the socks, the stadium, the ownership. It's excuse after excuse. Now, if your mindset is of, I'm going to make excuses, I'm going to blame things, then the outcomes aren't going to be great. Whereas if you change that mindset, and whether that's the manager, the players, whoever it is, trying to help United's end product, it has to change. They have to stop making excuses and start rolling the sleeves up and going, right, okay, we'll get ourselves through it. It's been a tough time. We've not been playing well, but we can turn our season round. We've only had 10 games in the Premier League. They're 8 points off the top 4. You're looking at it thinking there's no chance they're going to get in the top 4. They're out of the League Cup. They're going to get knocked out of the Champions League, it looks like, as well, certainly before Christmas. And then you're thinking, well, only the FA Cup left to win. So it's going to be a poor season for United standard, but they've got to stop making excuses and start turning things around.
Yeah, I mean, tight socks or goalkeeper shirts that don't fit. I mean, it's an indicator. We can all laugh at it, and we do, but it's an indicator, isn't it, of a club that's not even talking to anyone internally. So, well, his shirt doesn't fit.
But it's pointless. I mean, who cares? I mean, the problem's on the pitch.
How does it come out? How does that kind of thing come out to the press?
When the club's in trouble like that, things like that get leaked out of a football club.
It's just weird.
And that just shows the kind of place that we're at with Manchester United, that everybody's taking great pride in taking a poke, taking a jibe. Just another thing. It's just another thing. I mean, stuff like that will have gone on for years at football clubs. Different people not liking kits, that not working. But because Manchester United are who they are and where they are, it's just another stick to poke them with, isn't it?
And we will continue to, we'll see what Manchester United do. But I'd say that run of fixtures that they have got is incredibly tough. It shouldn't be that tough, but with Manchester United the way they're playing at the moment, it certainly is.